Guys, how to survive the deliverability apocalypse. I've seen all kinds of crazy. All right, guys, how to survive the deliverability apocalypse. I've seen all kinds of crazy commentary on, the coming changes February 1st, and most people are downplaying it because they live in a bubble. They know they've already had their DNS authenticated for a while. They've been doing, quote unquote, best practices, but nothing could be further from the truth. All the people that you mentioned earlier, Andy, and 100% of my clients that thought they were all good to go when it comes to deliverability, none of it, 100% have had issues. So a lot of people, like you and I, know someone recently that's thought they had it all together. In 10 seconds, I found that they had DNS authentication issues and they had a really bad SPF error. So a lot of claims, but let's figure out what you actually need to do to meet the minimum requirements, but why you shouldn't go for the minimum requirements, because that's basically, let's just say, Andy, just say some guru said, all right, so the difference between making 100K this year and 1 million is only going to take you 30 minutes a month. And you're like, nah, why bother? I'm good with 100K. That sounds like doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
So yeah, going for the minimum requirements again it's basically like going for a C average when you could get an A with just a little extra work. So we're going to cover that because the minimum requirements are really, it's true, they are basic, but guess what? A lot of really smart marketers don't even know the basics. So let's get into that. So again, a little recap of what I've been doing over the last 28 years. All right, so how to survive the deliverability apocalypse. Bear with me, I still have a little cough from the T and C traffic conversion alien virus that always goes around. So DNS authentication, DKIM, SPF, DMARC, that's another misnomer. Everybody's like, oh, it's just simple. Just follow the instructions from your ESP and you're good to go. I'm going to show you examples where that's not the case. There's a lot more that goes along with that. Low spam complaint rate. There's a lot of nuance there as well, especially when it comes to affiliates. And then there's this unsubscribe header. Those are the three main things. And there's a lot of subpoints that we're going to cover today. All right, so here's just an example of what you don't want to see. This is somebody using those newsletter services like Beehive or Ghost. They're not really good for deliverability or authentication. They're behind the times. They don't even mention the February 1st requirements. They don't have a lot of good authentication unless they use their top plans. I think Beehive is $80 or more, and Ghost might even be $200 or more just to get the right authentication. So just something to be aware of. Here's an example from AdSkills where it appeared that they were okay. They had the right DNS, but they had old DNS records for ActiveCampaign. They had an invalid SPF record. You only allowed 10, and they had 11. I've had clients with up to 20 SPF lookups when it's only allowed 10. It results in errors, authentication issues, and deliverability. And the number one reason that I see people with this is not documenting their DNS records. So you always want to tell your tech guys, hey, put this in a spreadsheet. We want to know the date, why the record was there. Did it replace an existing record? What was that? And why did we do this? Because, 7 email senders, I think probably 4 of those were old and not being used anymore. But, if you don't record that, you don't know why it's there and if it can be removed or not. You definitely don't want to see this. This is like an easy test on desktop in Gmail. Let me try and get my mouse moving. But basically, you don't want to see via anything next to your email. So it should, so for Andy, it should be from Andy Hassong and there should be an unsubscribe link. There should be no via Active Campaign or via ASEM or anything like that. Here's another example, Active Campaign user, they don't have their DNS authentication. They don't meet the requirements for February 1st, and it's just not optimal for deliverability. You shouldn't see via anything. And if you have any questions about that, like, hey, wait a second, what exactly you're talking about and how does that all work? Just let me know. And Andy, hit me up if anybody has any questions about something specific that I just covered, okay?
Sure thing.
All right. So Sugar Me Smooth, a recent client, if you click the little arrow underneath Sugar Me Smooth, this will come up. This actually gives you some insight into how they're authenticated. So they have the unsubscribe link. That's one of the requirements for the new February 1st guidelines, but your ESP in 99 out of 100 times will take care of that for you. So you don't really have to worry about that. If you use like Aweber, Keep, Active Campaign, ConvertKit. And then you'll see this mailed by and signed by. Okay. So signed by should always be your domain. If it says AC, blah, 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 SendGrid, Active Campaign, Mailgun, then that means you don't meet the minimum requirements. So that's the signed by. It should always be your domain. If you don't see yourdomain.com under signed by, that means you need to authenticate properly. And then mailed by, that's for certain providers that allow you to add that. Like Active Campaign doesn't allow you to add that unless you have the enterprise account. Entreport does. Keep is going to be adding it. This is Klaviyo. So Klaviyo integrates with SendGrid. SendGrid allows you to set the mailed by domain. That's optimal. So if you see anything on your ESP, whether it's SendGrid, Mailgun, or Keep, and they allow you to set a return path or a bounce domain, anything like that, or a custom mail server domain, that's what the send.sugarmesmooth.com is. That basically allows you to take more ownership of your deliverability, not share with other customers on the same service. So if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. You can still have good deliverability, get your emails delivered. This is just optimal, okay? So minimum, you want the signed by to be your domain. They have the option, the mailed by should be like a subdomain, like send.yourdomain.com. And again, if they have that option, they have instructions step by step, they have tutorials. You just want to ping support at or get on live chat for your ESP and say, hey, I want to authenticate. And do you have an option to do a custom return path?
Jason, I just wanted to let you know that you can share your video now anytime you'd like.
Okay.
No questions coming in yet. Guys, if you do have any questions along the way, have anything you want to share in the chat box about your current situation or what have you, I can keep your name anonymous when asking questions or.
I think there's a Q&A right now. Do you see that?
Yeah, sorry. I just realized I was on mute, but I was just mentioning that there's not an actual question. It was someone just answered yes in there instead of in the chat.
Okay. All right. So what are these DNS authentication records? It's basically, especially with DMARC, it's if, let's just say Andy wants to send the email, or I should say, I want to send the email as Andy. The DMARC record is basically Andy saying, hey, if someone tries to email as me, I want to know about it. That's where you see in the middle where it says V equals DMARC1, P equals none. You see that, Andy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so P equals none means I want to know about it if Big Jason emails as me, okay? That's the minimum. Which is nice, but I'm going to show you some email services and some examples where they give you DMARC reports. If you just have DMARC 1, P equals none, there's no way for you to find out if someone's trying to email you. That's why you want to have this RUA equals mail to, and then a reporting email. And again, I'm going to show you some services, some with no credit card required. You get a free 2-week trial, and I'll show you some examples. But you want to know if someone's trying to email you, that's P equals none. P equals quarantine means, hey, if Big Jason tries to emails me, I want you to send it to spam. Then eventually you want to be P equals reject, which basically means don't even email. If Big Jason tries to email me, Andy Hasong, Andy at endorsedtrafficpros.co, don't even send it through, okay? So that's what you want to do. And if you think that it's really not that big a deal, I just had a big affiliate with a lot of paid traffic, high ticket coach. I turned it on and immediately I saw that someone was trying to spoof his sending domain, Joe at, joe.com with a hair loss offer. He would have never known if he had just said V equals DMARC 1, P equals none. But I'm going to show you a service that I used that received the report and showed me what was going on. And then you have your CNAME domain keys. And this is for Chris Mercer. And you can see his SPF record at the very bottom where it says V equals SPF1. So you don't really need to know the technical terms for these. Again, your ESP will give it to you. And again, it's the minimum. You have your ESP, but you also have your membership site, your WordPress site, your shopping cart, your help desk. They all send email as you. Andy, you want your help desk to be able to send email as you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's authorized. So if you just focus just on your ESP and look, you got your DMARC record, DMARC 1, P equals none. You set up a DMARC reporting service. That's all good. You're like, okay, I want to tighten up my security so no one emails on my behalf that I don't want. And you switch to quarantine or reject without authenticating your help desk. All of a sudden, your help desk email is going to go to spam or they're not going to get delivered. Why? Because you told Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft to do that with your DMARC record. You switch P equals none to P equals quarantine, or hopefully P equals reject. But you just focused on Infusionsoft. Okay, that's the bare minimum. Obviously, your ESP is your most important avenue for reaching the inbox with your contacts. Again, help desk, membership site, shopping cart. You want to make sure all that's authenticated. And again, they all have instructions. They all have tutorials. If you have someone technically competent, I've seen a lot of them screw it up, but they should be able to do it if they follow directions. So Andy, does that make sense that it's not just your ESP, it's anybody that's emailing on your behalf? You want to make sure that they're authenticated and authorized?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's also something I hadn't, really thought of myself before. And obviously that's why I have you on board helping me out with that, right?
Yeah.
Do you have time for a question or two here, Jason?
Yep.
All right. So the first one is, someone asked if you have a subdomain set up and authenticated through Mailgun, is that enough? Or do you need a paid email related to that subdomain setup?
You say it one more time?
Sure. If you have a subdomain set up and authenticated through Mailgun, is that enough? Or do you need a paid email related to that subdomain setup? Means a paid email address, or
you need your parent domain, the email address. So let's just say you set up mg.yourdomain.com. You don't have to have, Andy@mg.yourdomain.com. You can have Andy@yourdomain.com. You should have an email that's associated with that domain. It just doesn't have to be the subdomain. Does that make sense?
It does to me. And then the person who asked that, if that didn't make sense, if you need some clarity, let us know. Thanks for answering that one, Jason. I got one more for you. This is from Peter. He asked, main question I have is around the 0.3% spam threshold. Everyone will eventually hit that from time to time, even with proper segmentation and list hygiene practices. Do you know the impact it will have if that's reached every now and then? And then can you actually get ghosted by hitting that once in a while, or is it mostly going to affect mailers who are just idiots and hit that multiple times? I have a high domain rep, but hit that from time to time on a webinar promo.
Well, first, not everybody's going to hit that. I have several clients that will never come in danger of that, but are they as aggressive as some affiliate marketers? No. But to answer your question about that, if you hit that 0.3% spam threshold, no, it's not a one time, oh, you failed, I'm sending you to spam. So it's over time. So what's the threshold? Like if you hit it 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, they're not saying, it's basically like they're not going to give away their algorithm for inbox placement or folder placement or any of that junk that, con artists try to pretend they understand. They're smarter than the Google engineers. Same thing here. So you want to hit it as little as possible. So once in a while, you're probably going to be okay. Just try to limit that.
Okay, sounds good. And Jason, I wanted to just kind of throw this out there too. I know this is probably on the minds of some of those on this call. As we go forward with you sharing some more about what people can do, I'm guessing there are ways to make this more step by step, knowing what to do first, second, third, fourth, and so on, that you'll get to in some level or share at a high level. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
So here's 3 resources. There's a ton of DMARC reporting services. These are 3 that I always try and use. They have free 2-week trials, no credit card required. Are you going to be able to go from reporting only P equals none to P equals reject in 2 weeks? Possibly. Some of you might. If you have a really basic setup, you send through your main ESP, maybe you send through SendGrid as well, and that's it. But if you have lots of different services, you might have to, and depending on how consistent you are, you might have to wait till you have a big promo or something and wait for those DMARC reports to come in where you can really analyze and make sure everything's authenticated. But either way, you'll still get some really good data. And I'll actually tell you a lot about your DNS authentication, whether you have SPF, DKIM set up properly, all that good stuff. There's Easy DMARC, bemclick.com/easy DMARC. There's demartian.com, and then there's redsif.com. Again, it's free, 2-week trial, no credit card required. They'll give you copy and paste. They'll tell you if it's set up correctly. It makes it a lot easier. And again, the reason why you want a DMARC report is, let's just say you're like, okay, yes, P equals none is report only. I definitely should have an email address in there to get reports if someone's trying to email on my behalf and I want them authorized, or if they're trying to spoof my domain and sell penis pills, I want to know about it. But the reason why you want a reporting service is because if you put your own email in there, let's just say, Andy, you or Vinny create a email called dmarc@endorsedtrafficpros.co, right? And you're like, hey, Jason, we don't want to use a reporting service anymore. Let's just send it to dmarc@endorsedtrafficpros.co. Well, the problem with that is that you're going to start getting inundated with DMARC reports in XML. So you probably don't even know what an XML looks like, right?
Right.
It's a bunch of gobbledygook. I would say 99% of marketers will not be able to understand it. Even if you could, it's just going to be a lot of bandwidth to try and figure out what that all means and look through all the XML code. That's why you want to use a DMARC reporting service. And I'm going to show you an example in just a second.
Okay. And Jason, do you have time for another quick
Yep.
question? All right. So Martin asked, how do you deal with DMARC once you are on blacklists?
DMARC is not really related to blacklists. Blacklist is just, it could be your IP, could be your domain, depends on the blacklist. But once you get on, if you're on a shared IP, like you just have a regular account at Keep, Aweber, ConvertKit, Active Campaign, you can ping their support, but they're probably going to say, yeah, we know about that. We're getting delisted. So if it's your domain, you have to go to the block list or the blacklist and ask to be delisted. But they're going to say, hey, this is why you're on here. Have you fixed it? And typically it's because you're emailing, we're going to cover this in a second, you're emailing really old, unengaged leads. A lot of them probably have converted into spam traps, which we're going to cover in a second. A lot of my customers have had that issues, even like the really big, smart ones. So we're going to cover that in just a second.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so here's Redsift. I really like Redsift. It's probably got the most details. It's probably the most expensive though. But again, you get a free 2-week trial. No harm in checking it out. So here it's reporting that this client's Active Campaign account and their Google Workspace account is set up properly. This is important. You know how I was saying that before, you can't just focus on your ESP. You want to make sure that all your authorized email sources are authorized. Well, literally 100%. I kid you not, Andy, probably over 20 clients the last 2 months, every single one has not had Google Workspace set up. So what does that mean? If you don't have your Google Workspace account authenticated properly, guess what's going to happen? Your emails to each other after February 1st could start going to spam or worse, not getting delivered. So you want to make sure your Google Workspace account is set up properly with DKIM and SPF. Again, Google Workspace has support documentation on how to do that, but you just want to make sure it's there. And this is another bonus of having a DMARC reporting service. It'll tell you, be like, hey, you're not authenticated properly with Google Workspace. Here's another example. So let's check this out. Again, free 2-week trial, Redsift. So look at all this. You got Google Workspace, like Webinar Jam. So the February 1st requirements, even if SPF fails, if DKIM passes, you'll still be good. But look at where Webinar Jam, it's passing SPF and DKIM 0% of the time. So this is not Andy's account, this is another client's account. So that tells me I need to go into their Webinar Jam account and get it authenticated properly. So again, that basically means I need to tell Gmail, Yahoo, Apple, Microsoft, hey, I use Webinar Jam. They're authorized. It's okay to go ahead and send their emails. They're the good guys, right? Same thing, I have it blurred out their domain, but there's 176 DMARC fails, 0% SPF, 0% DKIM. What that tells me, based on my experience, do you have a guess, Andy, what that means if it's coming from their own domain?
No.
That basically tells me they probably have a WordPress install. It's probably a membership site with WordPress. It's emailing their customers, their username and logins and stuff like that. It's all failing. It's not being delivered.
So question for you there. So I run our site off of WordPress, and And guys, I think you could tell just from the beginning of this workshop today that technology wise, I'd know just enough to be dangerous. I would guess that if anyone's running a WordPress site, this stuff could be affecting a lot of different people and not even know it. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I've had clients with up to 5 to 7 different authorized email sources that they totally forgot about. Like I've told, asked them up front, like, hey, all right, any other sources of email traffic other than your main ESP? And I give them a rundown of like SendGrid, Mailgun, WordPress, shopping cart, help desk, blah, blah, blah. And they give me a couple maybe. And then I start doing the DMARC reporting with Redshift. And I'm like, are you sure you're not using Mailgun? Are you sure you're not sending emails from your WordPress site? And I go, oh yeah, I am. I forgot. So that's why this is so important. It tells you that. So now I will go into this customer's WordPress site and I will install a free plugin called WPSMTP. You want to put that in the chat, WPSMTP. And then I will connect that to a SendGrid account. I always try to use either the bare minimum SendGrid account, sometimes even the free account, depending on the traffic. If you only have like 50 a month or 100 a month, you can get away with a free account. There's Elastic Email is a really good low-cost SMTP provider that you can use, because the reason why you want to do that is, you don't want to get hacked and have people try and send emails through your WordPress site through like an old plugin or something like that. So I always go through WP SMTP plugin and then connect that to a like really cheap or free SendGrid or Elastic Email SMTP service.
Okay, so just for clarity, I typed in WPSMTP plugin. Anything you want me to add into the chat to help our listeners?
No, that should work.
Okay.
All right. All right. So here is Google Postmaster. You should have Google Postmaster set up for your sending domain. And here's a point that I forgot to put in the slides, but you should be aware of this. I forget who asked about Mailgun. So let's just say let's use Andy again, Andy at endorsedtrafficpros.co. He has that set up. You should have a Google Postmaster account set up for endorsedtrafficpros.co. Okay. Now let's just say he wants to use SendGrid or Mailgun with his WordPress site. So he sets up SG, for SendGrid, or MG for Mailgun dot endorsedtrafficpros.co. Okay. You want to go back to Google Postmaster and set up, you want to add sg.endorsedtrafficpros.co, because now you have a new domain that's authorized to send emails for you. So you just don't want the parent domain. If you add a subdomain, you want to add the subdomain as a Google Postmaster account as well, because you want to know if you get 100% spam rate. So that looks really bad, but that was like a really low amount of email traffic that day. So it was by sales reps for this client, and I had to slap them around verbally, so to speak, to cut it out. So you definitely want to be monitoring this, and that's where you're gonna stay under that 3% threshold or get notified when you check it out on a weekly basis, and make sure you don't go over that 0.3% spam complaint ratio. So here's a recent client that I helped improve their IP reputation. Went from red low to medium. I've had friends in the deliverability industry, the true deliverability industry, that, they've been doing it for over 20 years, longer than me. who have said that they've had clients with lots of success that have never gone above medium. That's usually really aggressive clients. So if you're yellow, can you be better? Yes, you always want to strive to get the green high, but you can do amazing with just yellow. And here's even a worse client in 2022. And we're going to talk about in a second, like how does this happen? Segmentation. So there's the complaint rate. So let's talk about how you get a higher complaint rate and how you reduce that and how do you get optimal deliverability, not just meeting the requirements for February 1st, but how do you get optimal deliverability, the optimal amount of affiliate emails, especially delivered. Here's a domain reputation that I improved September 2023. That does a lot of affiliate traffic. Excuse me. All right, so here's one of the things I do with clients is I go through and I do some reports on truly engaged. What does truly engaged mean? It doesn't mean just opens. That's probably one of the biggest problems my clients have is they're still focused on, well, hey, they've quote unquote opened the email in the last 120 days. They're engaged. That's not true. That's why you got to do these reports. And a lot of it comes from your opt-in funnels, especially affiliate webinars. So you have your partners, they're promoting, you get all these people that come through that were just looky-loos. They've never even clicked or engaged during the webinar or after the webinar. You want to put them in a special funnel where you're not emailing and slamming them all the time, because a lot of times they're not even good emails. So check this out. 7,354 haven't clicked in the last 30 days. So I get the chat over this thing. I'm gonna try and move it. Go out of full screen. There we go. Now I can see it. So 7,354 haven't clicked within the last 30 days. 5,865 haven't clicked within the last 60 days. And this list is 10,000, Andy. So if they have a list of 10,000 and 7,354 haven't clicked within the last 30 days, this list is not a really good engaged list. So does that mean you're going to exclude everybody that haven't clicked in the last 30 days? No. That just means that possibly after the 90 days, you might want to exclude those. So what's the big deal about emailing people aggressively that haven't clicked within the last 30, 60, 90, 120 days? Here we go. Like literally 99% of my recent clients, I look at their recent campaigns and they have a lot of hard bounces. Address does not exist, can't route. They're hitting spam traps. The key to this is finding the sweet spot, okay? So it varies. I'm not going to be like a bad personal trainer where, a teenager comes in and you give them this really power building workout, and then an old lady who just wants to be flexible and be able to ride her horse, and you give them the same workout of a high school athlete who wants to play college football. No, I'm not going to give you the quote unquote formula that works for everybody. Because, for example, if you're personal development, you might have someone that gets on your list who's going through a divorce, who, a breakup, they lost their job. So they're going to be really engaged. They're going to get some relief, either buying your product or, consuming your content, and they're going to drop off a little bit. Okay. So the sweet spot for a personal development affiliate list might be 60, 90, 120 days. If you're affiliate, make money online, BizOp, that might be 60 days, might be 30 days in some cases, but you have to just keep testing. I usually do it for like, say, 3 to 5 days. I'll test a 30-day segment of clicks and opens, say like for the last 2 weeks. If they've just opened the last 2 weeks, or if they've clicked within the last 30 days, I'll do that segment. I'm like, okay, it's 45% open rate, 2.5% click-through rate. That's good. So the next week, I'll switch it up and I'll go either 45 or 60-day clickers and maybe 30-day openers. So if that goes from 45 to 41, 42, I'm still okay. And again, it's not just a one-day thing, because a lot of things can affect, open rates, click-through rates. Could be the offer, could be the day, could be a holiday, could be the weekend versus a weekday. That's why you want to do it over a week, at least a week, minimum 3 days, but better is, 5 to 7 days, and adjust accordingly. So if it doesn't go down too much, you're like, okay, this is my current sweet spot, or, quote unquote control. And you're going to open it up again. So let's just say from 60 days to 90 days, and your open rates go down to 33%, and the click-through rate is 0.9% for a week. You're like, oh, okay, that's probably a little too aggressive. Let's dial that back the following week to maybe 75 days. And you're just basically looking for that sweet spot where you're not seeing a huge change in the average open rate or click-through rates. Does that make kind of sense, Andy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you're looking for that sweet spot for your lists, not worrying about anybody else. Compete against yourself. Don't go for the average, whatever everybody else is doing, because, different type of lists or different type of traffic sources, different offers. It's going to depend. So how can you be more aggressive finding your sweet spot without worrying about hitting that 0.3% spam complaint rate or hitting all those spam traps that are existing on your list? Remember, Google just made inactive a ton of accounts that were old Gmail accounts. You don't want to hit those. So to be more aggressive, you want to clean your lists. Here's an example from a recent client. They had 420 spam traps. That's horrible. Way too many. So we got rid of those, and now we're being more aggressive, because now we know we can really be aggressive on finding that sweet spot, expanding that segment that we're emailing consistently without trying to, without worrying about hitting those spam traps and hurting our deliverability, our reputation, and all that. So here's complainer. So I use Clean 13. They even say, guys, complainers are commonly users who like to complain after receiving email. Complaints can vary from ISP notification to cease and desist letters. In some rare cases, they can also pursue litigation. These are valid email addresses, but we do not recommend sending email. So notice how it didn't say definitively. It said complaints can vary in some rare cases. So what I do with my clients is I run the report, I import all the contacts with their designation. Are they a malformed, which means it's, a misspelling probably? Are they a spam trap? Are they complainer? Are they valid? Are they undeliverable? And I import that in a custom field or a tag, and then I run a report. So probably, I would say 95% of the time where I've done this for a client and I run a report on the complainer. So I just do a search, all contacts with the tag clean 13-complainer, or a custom field clean 13 status. The value is complainer. Most of them are customers. Most of them are active. So just because they're a complainer for other people who may be jackasses doesn't mean they're going to complain about you. It's just something that Clean 13 says, hey, they've been known to complain, so you just have to be worried about that. So if you're BizOp, possibly need to be worrying about complainers more, but I've had the same experience with BizOp clients, that complainers are not that bad. They just can be. So you just have to be wary of that. Here's another example. Even more complainers, bots. Bots are bad. Bots open, bots click, they inflate your numbers, they give you bad data. You want to get bots off your lists. Again, those spam traps are really bad. And malformed, Clean 13 has an API. Whatever validation service you use, if you can integrate it with your opt-in funnel, even better, because then you can catch malformed emails, spam traps, just bad emails without sending them through your entire opt-in funnel, like over 30 days, hammering emails that are really bad. Just helps you catch them. I think we have a question from Peter.
You want me to read that to you? You reading it?
Yep.
Okay. So Peter asked, what if you have a list of buyers, most who've been buying from you for 2 to 10 years, but you haven't emailed them in 6 months? I've been on hiatus developing a new product and I'm about to start mailing again. Is it okay to send out a re-engagement campaign to get them replying and re-engaging before going hard on promos, or does this mean I can't email my list?
Good question. You want to clean the list first, for sure. A lot of those emails may have turned into spam traps, been inactive, and you just don't want to start emailing dead emails or spam traps. So you want to clean it first, and you definitely want to do a re-engagement campaign. Get them replying first before you start hitting hard with the promos, especially with February 1st around the corner.
Great stuff, Peter. Let us know if that answered your question. And if you or anyone else have any more questions, be sure to drop that in the chat there or in the Q&A panel.
So let's recap. And I have another slide with the recap for affiliate specific lists. So recap, authenticate your sending domain with DKIM SPF DMARC, not just for your ESP, for all your authorized email services like WordPress, membership sites, help desk, shopping cart, all that good stuff. Don't set up your DMARC record half-assed like a lot of people are recommending, where it's just DMARC 1, P equals none, that's it. You want to have a reporting email address, preferably with a DMARC reporting service, so it can alert you if there are other sources that need to be authenticated. And if there are other sources you don't want to be sent through. Maintain a lower spam complaint rate of 3.3% or lower. Stop emailing old, unengaged leads who just bounce or complain. Clean your lists. I use Clean 13 again, bemclick.com/clean, KLEAN, and email more and email consistently. That's another huge issue with a lot of recent clients is they have a promo, they email hard, they email aggressive, and then they stop. And then they wait for the next promo. And then they say email hard and they stop. So you want to be consistent. And just if you want to add a content strategy with your promotions, content does not mean you can't sell. Really short, actionable tips, advice, and then segue into a promotion. But you want to email consistently.
Fantastic.
So here's the affiliate specific. So one, you want to check your and your partner affiliate link domain for block lists. I've seen that a lot, especially in the personal development lists. Someone's parent domain or the product owner's domain gets blocked for really bad practices, emailing spam traps, and they get put on a block list. And then they have their partners email their promotion with that parent domain as part of the affiliate link. And then your emails are getting sent to spam because you used their link domain. So if you're an affiliate, what you can do is send to a bridge page instead, if that's the case. You can tell the person you're promoting, like, hey, did you know that the affiliate link you want me to use in my emails is on a block list? My emails are going to spam all of a sudden when I use that. let them know. And then in the meantime, you can use, again, a bridge page, blog page, whatever you want, a review page works really well, and send people to there where they click on a link on that page. Have affiliates agree not to spam your affiliate links. So I know even if you do this, they still could do it, but it's always a good practice to, when your affiliate agreement, have them agree that they're not gonna buy lists or spam with your affiliate links, because if your sending domain is part of your affiliate links that you give to other people, again, they could harm your reputation and send your emails to spam and your other affiliates to spam. So yeah, that is it. That's like the minimum requirements and how to optimize your deliverability the best. Again, don't go for a C average, go for an A. It's not that difficult. You just have to take a little bit more effort, a little more time. If you want me to help you with that, there's a link right there for Andy, endorsedtrafficpros.com/inbox. There is a course that's live right now that you can take. You can ask questions. There's also a done for you service that Andy is using. So you could do both. You could do the course, you take the bump offer for done for you, and maybe give the course access to a member of your team and have me do it for you. So it's up to you.
Great. Yeah, I just realized I was on mute again. First of all, Jason, thanks for sharing all of that. I want to welcome any other questions you guys have. Like Jason mentioned, he's actually doing this for me, and I'm actually in the stage, even though I've been around doing online marketing forever, I've built lists in the past and so on. I've realized I don't know what I don't know. And this year, one of my biggest goals, actually, my number one goal, is to establish more of a presence online via an email list, right? And knowing that February 1st is coming along and seeing what Jason has posted about and being in his email inbox warriors group, which is part of what you'll have access to by joining up with him, I realize I need to get his help to do this for me, because I don't want to have to spend the hours that it could take. Well, for me, it would be hours. It might be, an hour or so for someone else. I don't know, but wanted to just really make sure I had the right guy doing this. And I've known Jason for a long time. I've known that this has been his bread and butter. And so I would just encourage you guys, if you're in the same boat, whether you are building your first list, which I don't think that is the case with most of you, according to the survey results from before, or if you are an experienced email marketer and maybe you just don't know exactly how to do this the right way, I would definitely encourage you to go to that link, endorsedtrafficpros.com/inbox, which will take you to a page that describes how Jason can help you out. And like I said, I personally decided to get him to do it for me. So there's that. And Jason, got anything else you'd like to add? Doesn't look like we have any questions, but guys, feel free to ask some more before we jump off here.
Brandon says, thanks a bunch, guys. This has been really great. Gonna jump on another call. You're welcome, Brandon. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, I'm here for more questions. We can go over a few additional details. Probably see if anybody has any additional questions about that. Basically, there are no magic tricks. So this is pretty funny and ironic. This is my Gmail promotions tab for one of my accounts, and there's a Gmail promo tab, Con Artist, that says how to get inside the best box. They like to think that the promotions tab is not the inbox, and the promotion tab has cost businesses billions of dollars in losses, parentheses, if I were to guess. Exactly, guess. Here's a famous guru that's using the Gmail scam, putting a bunch of text at the bottom of their emails. Hey, Mark. Mark had a question about my fees. If you go to endorsedtrafficpros.com/inbox, you'll see the pricing right there. And contact Andy if you have any detailed questions about that done for you service. I have a proposal that I can give you that's got like full details on that. So yeah, this famous guru was on live on stage in person saying about how they paid thousands of dollars to master the Gmail promotions tab, and all his emails were in my spam folder. And you can see that a lot of them are classified as promotions and updates, not the inbox. And then he followed that up with a live stream, and multiple people, when he was talking about this, were like, dude, all your emails are in my spam folder.
There's another question for you here, Jason. From Peter, he asked, can the 30-day done for you start date be delayed by a couple weeks?
Sure. That's interesting that you would want to delay it a couple weeks when February 1st is around the corner. But yeah, that's possible. Sure. Here is literally from a inbox testing service where they say, guys, we use generic robot inboxes that are not engagement trained for your specific sending patterns. This means they will behave very differently to the inboxes of your actual subscribers, even at the same provider. So these claims that, oh, I got a certain inbox placement rate or a certain Gmail tab, primary tab placement rate using these services or using these special sneaky Gmail accounts, it's all bullshit. Gmail is very unique to each person. Those domain warming services are illegal. I've talked to the Google's email team about this. They're like, they've told me word for word, yes, we know about these alleged domain warming services that pretend like they've beaten our Google engineers and we don't know that it's a bot instead of a real person. And yes, we will not only come after these domain warming services, we detect them, but we will actually see the associated domain. So let's just say, Andy, if you had a domain warming service and they were trying to fake engagement in Gmail for your endorsed trafficpros.co, not only would they detect the domain warming service, they would say, oh, they're faking engagement for endorsed trafficpros.co. They're assholes. We're going to send them to spam now because, they're violating our terms of service. Did you know that, Andy?
No.
Yeah.
See, that's my point. I don't know what I don't know. Now, I am actually being educated on this, even though I've hired Jason to do this for me. It's important that I understand a lot more of this than what I currently do. And so this is all something that I'm glad I've invested in, just a few weeks ago myself already, just from what he's done so far. But I wanted to point out something for everyone's benefit here. I think it's very critical to understand that we're not just throwing out a date that, February 1st based on, scarcity or, creating a sense of urgency. This is a real thing where things will change definitely after February 1st for different people based on how their email's set up. And so I wanted to ask Jason, could you just kind of touch on that for a minute to stress the fact that this isn't just some arbitrary thing here?
Yeah. It's definitely coming down February 1st. It doesn't mean like, 100,000 people are going to start going to spam immediately. It's probably going to be like a rollout. But as I've said already, a lot of my clients, they're already seeing deliverability issues from emailing older domains or older emails that have become inactive. Doesn't mean that if you're not a spam trap, it's not going to hurt you. If you're emailing inactive accounts, it's not good. So yeah, I would definitely have things in place, not just to meet the minimum requirements, but to exceed those requirements by February 1st, because you just don't want to take the chance. Why would you?
Right. Well, and this also reminds me of, and correct me if I'm wrong, back, it was in August of last year. There, leading up to, I don't know if it was early August, late August, whatever, where SMS services were going to be impacted in terms of how your text messaging would get through to the end user.
Right.
And even though there was ample warning that people needed to do certain things technology wise within their SMS accounts, I found that people put it off to the last minute. And I was actively taking care of that for an SMS service that, I have or whatever, but I found that a lot of people after the date that was stated, and again, I can't remember exactly when it was, after that date passed, all of a sudden I started seeing all over Facebook and all the marketing groups that, hey, my texts aren't getting through. I'm getting, they're all bouncing back to me and so on. And so then there was a mad rush to get somebody to give them some clarity on what they needed to do. And so I would think that this is a similar scenario where even if it doesn't happen right on February 1st, specifically, that even with a rollout, the people who don't take action on this early on are going to be in that same situation.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jason?
Oh, big time. In fact, digital marketer, Ryan Dice, and all those guys, they just added 2 sitting domains to my account. So they're probably my biggest account, my biggest list. They added two different companies to my contract with them just to be ready for February 1st. So they're taking it very seriously.
Right. And you had mentioned different companies like AdSkills and John Benson and Stephen Georgie and so on being some of your clients and everything. And I would say that the guys that are doing big email promos like these other companies are taking this seriously and hiring someone like Jason with what he's put in front of you at endorsedtrafficpros.com/inbox, this might be, the best opportunity for you to take advantage of that. Again, while February 1st is kind of looming around the corner.
Yep. So let's talk about the screenshot on the screen. So this is all May 2023, or most of this is May 2023. I had a client that the revenue was tanking, like what's going on? So the fourth from the top where it says $3,426.53. Do you see that, Andy?
Yep.
So that is, they were conned out of thousands of dollars to try and game the system and stuff a bunch of texts. Out of the top 10 revenue producing emails for that year, that was the only email that had the Gmail scam. But what I found was that subject line for that one email, it was their best performing subject line of all time, regardless of the Gmail scam. So in my opinion, it really wasn't because of the scam. It was because it's their best performing subject line that works every time they use it. Here's what's interesting. A lot of Gmail promo tab con artists who try and confuse you that the promotions tab is part of deliverability and it's part of inbox placement when it's not. It's a lie. Here's what's interesting about this. So do you see the $3,453.15 at the top? And then you see the $1,797.99.
Right.
That's both of those are May 10th. Another bullshit claim by promo tab con artists is like, oh, well, I resent this email for this client, months later. And the only thing I changed was adding the Gmail scam text at the bottom, and look at the difference. Well, one, they've already admitted that more than that has changed. It's the time. Time can affect performance. Again, holidays, all that good stuff. So they're really clueless about anything related to data science. But then the first row, 3,453.15, that's in the evening. The morning email on the same day, May 10th, 2023, it did $1,797.99. So simply resending the same email with not putting in a Gmail scam text, not doing anything, not even changing the subject line, just resending it in the evening on May 10th, it almost doubled revenue. No scam needed.
So it sounds like people are, they have the ability and so on to be able to just set this stuff up right to where none of that other junk even has to come into play to try to trick any kind of email delivery systems into getting that email in the proper area, right?
It's the waste of mental and physical bandwidth,
Right.
chasing assumptions. Talking about split tests, here's a split test. So group A had the Gmail trick. Group B didn't have the Gmail trick. I took off the CTA arrows. That's another assumption. Oh, you got to use lots of arrows on your CTA. Not true. You don't. But you can see the version A had 14.44% open rate. Version B without the trick had 12.90%. You're like, oh, Jason, this proves you're wrong. No, it doesn't, because look at the click-throughs. 1.04% with the Gmail trick and a 1.11% without using the Gmail trick. So it's not really significant, but it really just shows you that more opens does not equal more clicks, right? Or even more revenue. And here's another one. Version A, and this one was like really big test, 228,635 went to version A, 9.2%. 9.27% open rate. Version B without the Gmail trick, 9.39% open rate, more opens, and again, more clicks without using the scam. So again, no magic tricks. Don't listen to people that say images hurt deliverability. That's complete bullshit as well. Version A with no image, 9.65%. Version B with an image CTA link, 10.21%. Again, more click-throughs. So don't listen to the BS. Here's another example. Image link one, 89,623, had more than the text link. But I think that covers it. This is some bonus stuff. But again, endorsedtrafficpros.com/inbox. I think we answered all the questions.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. There's not a question in the box right now, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate something. When I brought you on to help me with this, we've gone back and forth quite a bit since that happened. And you've done so much to help me along the way already, where I already know that as I get going with everything, if I know that the emails I'm sending out are getting through, number one, but also being done in such a way where it's set up properly to begin with. Because again, I'm starting from scratch with this, right? I've had email lists, but we're essentially starting from scratch. I know that as that takes place, that's going to result in more revenue coming in because more of those emails are being seen and getting clicked on. And I'm not using the bandwidth and the mind space of worrying and doing all these hacks to try to get those emails through. And I think just the way I look at things, when I invested in your service, anyone who's listening to this, when I invested in Jason's service to get this set up right for me, I looked at this as that, an investment that is going to pay off as things, again, starting with my own email list is one thing. But if you guys already have lists of 10,000, 50,000 or more people, and you tighten up that deliverability by investing in his help in some fashion, whether it's online training so you can do it yourself or getting his help to do it for you, I would have to think that that is just a positive ROI type investment for you guys by doing that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
And
yeah, go for it, Jason.
I was just going to say, yeah, two different Halbert proteges that run affiliate email traffic. They're doing affiliate promos every week. Both of those, I worked for them on a monthly retainer basis for over 2 years because it was that important for them to have someone, on top of it every day, every week, making sure they had the best deliverability for their affiliate email promos.
That's great. I think I know who those people are too. I've worked with them a lot for quite a few years myself. So that's great. And I know those emails got through. Let me say this. It looks like Peter is going to be joining us for your program here on some level, Jason, once he returns from the gym. So Peter, it'd be great to have you. And once you do, man, hit me up and I'll be able to help you a little bit more on the JV side of things too, just to put our heads together and figure out some things. But So anyone else wants to jump in and help Jason? One thing I'm going to do, not help Jason, but get Jason's help. One thing I'm going to do too, if you guys happen to have any kind of JV opportunity, any of your own webinars or anything, I'll take the time to do a critique of the JV opportunity itself, any JV pages you have, and so on. Because then once you get Jason's help to tighten up your email deliverability, as you start getting JV partners on board, that's just going to mean more money to you guys because those emails are getting through, right? So I don't want to keep repeating myself, but just wanted to encourage you guys to check out what Jason has at endorsetrafficpros.com/inbox and how he can help you on that email deliverability. And Jason, anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, so, unlike promo tab guy, con artist guys, I don't inflate claims. I don't do a bunch of stuff and then lie about, oh, it was because of one weird trick. Deliverability, depending on your situation, it could be obvious, the improvement. If your domain reputation, your IP reputation is bad, but a lot of times, depending on the offer, depending on your lead flow, a lot of things can affect performance. So what I like to do is, I'm putting you in the best possible position to get the most emails delivered to the inbox. And let's just say on your average promo, how much you're making per sale. Okay. So I would just imagine, what's going to make it worth your time? 5 more sales a month, 10 more sales a month, and just imagine that additional revenue. And that's why those 2 Halbert proteges had me working full time for over 2 years straight, was because this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that speaks for itself, Jason. I don't really have any other questions for you myself, and it doesn't look like anyone else is asking questions. So here's your last chance to go ahead and I don't know if you can hear my dog barking back there, but but if anyone else has any questions to ask, jump right in here. And if not, Jason, any last words you want to share with everyone?
No, that was it. You can see on the screen a testimonial from Tim Starr, former head of deliverability for Post for 8 years. I worked with him for over 3 months straight at an actual ESP, and I was managing over 40 domains at the exact same time. So that's why I kind of went into specializing in just deliverability, because I was doing email revenue optimization for so long, and then I would throw in email deliverability as a bonus. But I figured out that I can handle way more clients where it's deliverability focused. So I've got, bandwidth to use. So, take advantage of it. I'd love to help you maximize your deliverability.
Sounds great. Well, Jason, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I really appreciate you joining us today. Happy to have you share some more if you'd like, but if not, we'll go ahead and end this for now. And guys, hit us up. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me on Facebook, everyone. You can also go to endorsetrafficpros.com/inbox. Check out what he's got there to be able to help you with your email deliverability. And we'll go from there. And then one last thing is, if you guys do take advantage of his offer on that page to help you guys out, I'm offering up my personal assistance on the JV side to take a close look at your JV opportunity, JV page, and so on, to make suggestions for how you can improve that, plus brainstorm some ideas on who might be a good fit for your offer. So, Jason, got anything else you want to add? I'll go ahead and go video too. Here, just say goodbye to everyone.
There he is.
Well, Jason, thanks for joining us, my man, and have a great day. Hit me up once we get off here and go from there, guys. One last time, endorsetrafficpros.com/inbox for Jason's help. Take care, everyone.
You guys.